Alright guys, so in the last episode we implemented Stripe to our hotel website. So if I click on book now, you would see that we'll get this processing state, then we'll be redirected to a Stripe checkout like this. So in this episode we want to listen for a particular webhook event from Stripe when a user makes payment. So in order to do that, the first thing we're going to do is to go back to our application like so, and we need to go back to our Stripe dashboard, and we want to create a webhook. And as you can see, I already have one, but this is for the website that is live. So in order for us to add our own locally, because we want to test it locally before adding an actual endpoint, so scroll down and click on add local listener, then we'll be redirected to this tab. And again, you can switch tab between this and this. So this add endpoint is when you are done with everything and your website is already live, because you can see it needs an actual HTTPS endpoint. But we'll go back to the test in a local environment, and they gave us a sample endpoint that we can use, and you can also see how the event is if it's been triggered. And they also give us our own endpoint secret code, and we can also get this on another place on our dashboard as well, but I can just copy this one. I'm not going to copy this entire code because I'm using Astro, and the way it's set up here it's for Express or Node.js. But I'll just go ahead and copy the secret code, then I'll go back to VS Code, and on my env file I'll create a new one called Stripe webhook secrets. I'll paste it like so. Alright, cool. So we already have this set up on our astro.config file. So if I say astro.config, you will see it like so. And now that we have this, you can choose to remove this optional property right here. I will leave mine as it is. Then I will just go back and close this out. Then on our API folder, I'll create a new endpoint. I'll call this Stripe webhook.ts. Then on this webhook, I'll just copy some of the functionalities that we have. So I'll copy everything here, come here and paste it like so. Then I'll get rid of some things. So we don't need this one. I think I don't need this one as well. What we do need is let me get rid of this one. I don't think we need it as well. We need the Stripe, sorry about that, the Stripe secret key. We also need the Stripe webhook secret, and lastly we need the Sanity token. And let's still import Stripe while we're here from Stripe. Then, because we'll be syncing some of our data to our Sanity Studio, I think we also need, let me copy this down, but this will be for the clients this time, and we just need the project ID and the data set. So say Sanity project ID and Sanity data set. And let's quickly create a new Stripe instance by just saying const Stripe. I'll say new Stripe, and I'll pass in the Stripe secret key like this. And I'll be referencing back to this. So even though I'm not using the code exactly, but I will just be showing you what we will be doing in reference to this code that they have here, because it's really similar. All right, so the next thing to do is let me just get rid of this entire block like so. I'm going to get an error expected. So create a new file, a new variable rather, called payload, because remember we want to grab all those data that we are trying to check out. So we say await request dot text, like so. Then we also need to make sure that the stripe signature matches. So if you check, you will see it here as well. So we'll say signature, I'll say request dot headers dot get, and we'll pass in the stripe signature, like so. And let's just throw an error if there's no signature. I think they didn't add it here, but I will just add it. So if there's no signature, we want to stop the entire thing. So if no signature, we'll just return a new response, and we say json.stringify, and we'll pass in this error state and say for the error, say web hook signature is missing. Then we can just add the status of 400, and headers will be content, keep spelling this wrong, type application JSON, like so. Then we'll need this event right here in order for us to construct an event, and we'll also need to pass in some arguments to the construct event method. So we'll just, seems that we'll copy this entire thing, and right here I can come here and say paste it like so. And for this one, we need the, in our case now, it's no longer the request body because we stored it inside the payload. Then for this one, it will be the complete signature, and the endpoint secret will be the stripe webhook secret. Then for this error, we'll just, let me see console.log an error out. So console.log use backticks, and I'll just say webhook error. Then I think it just needs only the error, like so. And you can still choose to do it like so if you don't want to add this entire thing. So I can get rid of this and add a comma here. Still going to work. Then for this response, we need to just return a new response. So I'm just going to copy this one and paste it here. So the response this time will be just say invalid signature, and we'll leave the other things as they are. And we're getting an error from this because it's undefined. Let's just add this exclamation mark at the end, like so, because we do have it. We can save now. So we just basically want to handle different checkout section. And before we go to that part, what I will do now is to make sure that we have Stripe on our device. So the first thing to do is to pass in this command right here. But before you do that, make sure you download the actual CLI. So if you click on this link right here, it's going to take you to this tab on how to install the Stripe CLI. So there are various methods to use, but the one I used was this scoop one right here. So what you just have to do is to copy this command, and this works on Windows shell. So I can search for Windows PowerShell, like so. Then just paste in the command. I'm not going to do it because I already have it installed. So paste in the command like so. Then once you have that installed, you copy this one and you repeat the same process as well. So once that is done, you just close these out. So the next step is to now log into the CLI, and for this part I normally use the command prompt like so. So once you have this open, what you need to do is to you can just even close this one out, because from here now we can start working with this. So I'll copy this one and I'll paste it like so. I'll hit enter, and if this works as it should, the webhook secret that is going to give us should match what we have here. So let's just give this a minute for it to load. Alright, so if you have Stripe installed, you should be seeing something similar to what I have here. So I will get a parent code, yours will be different. Then you see this parent code verifies our authentication with Stripe. So we can just hit on any command for us to authenticate with Stripe. So I'll quickly use my passkey to pass in my password. So you should do the same for yours. And we'll allow access. So access has been granted. We may now close this window. So if we go back now, go back to the CLI, you can see that this key will expire after 90 days, at which point we'll need to re-authenticate again. So now that we have this, the next thing we'll do is to listen for, or rather to forward an event to the webhook that we've created. So in order to do that, we use this command, but copy this like so and go back, paste it here. But this time we'll say localhost 3000 /API/Stripe webhook. So basically we are just mapping it to what we have here. So we'll click hit enter. So you can now see that it's ready and the Stripe webhook signature matches. So you can see this one ended with 00. If we check here, you also see that it ended with 30 as well. So at this point now we can trigger different events. So let's just copy this default one they gave us like so, and I can come back, but this time I don't want to close this one. I will just open a new one. So make sure we have a new one open like so. Then I'll paste in the command and hit enter. So you can see that it says trigger succeeded. So if we check our dashboard here, obviously we've not added the right code for this to work. That's why we're getting the 500 error. But you can see that the payment intent was succeeded and every other thing. I think we should get the same thing on our received events. So you can see that I have something here. But if we go to our VS Code and open our terminal, we should get an error, which is expected. Okay, so now that we know that it's working, what we have to do is to first of all close this, and I will go back to VS Code and pass in the right event that we'll be needing. So we'll go under this one like so, and we only want to proceed with the payment if the event type has the checkout section completed. So we say if event dot type is equals to, and I think we should have like an autocomplete of different events, so you can go through anyone that fits your own purpose and you can add multiples as well. But what I just need is a checkout session dot completed. So if the type is equals to this, what we want to do is to create a session, and we'll say event.data.object as the checkout stripe.checkout.session. And what we want to do after this is that we want to retrieve the booking data from the session metadata. So I think if we go to the create checkout, so this stuff right here, we just want to retrieve this entire booking data from these objects right here. So the way to do that, we say if a session dot metadata dot booking data, I think we should just add that right there. Then we're going to say try and catch. It should be catch. And then you see error. We say console dot, let's just do console dot error this time. We're using console dot log. Then we'll just say error creating, not sanity document. Then you say creating booking after payment. Then we'll pass in that particular error. But if it's actually successful, create a new variable called booking data. So say JSON dot pass, sorry about that. Then we'll say session dot metadata dot booking data, like so. Then we just want to now create the booking in our Sanity schema. So I would hit tab for this to complete, but in order for us to be in a safer side, I will just write it out. So we say const mutations, and this should be an object, like so. Then we'll pass in the mutations, like so, and this would be an array of objects. And we'll pass in the create object, like so, and we want to pass in different fields. So the type will be booking because we are writing to the booking document. So we also need the reservation ID, which will come from the booking data dot reservation ID. Then for the user field that is in the booking schema, so let me just go to the booking type. So we have this user that we referenced, we have the room that we reference as well. So for that one, we say the type is referenced, just like we just said. Then we pass in the reference and say booking data dot user booking ID. Then we also need to pass in the check-in. So booking data dot check-in. It should be a comma here. Then we'll also pass for the checkout as well. So we'll say checkout, also add a comma here too. Then we'll say number of room. So we'll say booking data, the number of room. Keep forgetting to add this comma. Then the next one will be the room field or the room document, because we also referenced it as well. So we say room, and for the room the type will be referenced as well. Then I'll just accept this because we just want to reference with the room ID. Then we need to pass in the adults. So say booking data dot adults, it should be S. Then we also need to pass in the children, so and we also need to pass in the total price. And these fields are really long though. And we also need to pass in the payment status. So the payment status, if we go back, the payment status was pending. So we just pass it we passed paid, so we say payment status will be paid. You also need to pass in the payment ID, which we can get from the session dot payment intent. I think it's payment intent, right? And we'll just make sure that it's a string. I think it's a string by default, but we'll just make sure it's a string. Then we'll also add the created at. So we say created at, and we're just passing the new date to string like so. Then we can save this. Then under this or after this last curly bracket, we can come here and say create a response like so. And this time we just want to send or make a post request to our booking field. So I think I will just have to accept this and just quickly go through it because I don't want to type this by hand again. So this will be mutate, as you can see, because we're writing to our booking document. So we need the project ID, the Sanity dataset, and the Sanity token. All right, I think this is all good. Then we're also stringifying the mutations, which is this entire thing like so. Then again, we can just say results. So console log out the results and we'll say await response.json, and let's just log out something. So say console.log booking created after payment. So we say this should be results like so. Then lastly, we want to return a response if that was everything went successfully. So I'll copy this right here and I'll just do it underneath. I think that will get rid of this error that we've been getting. Why am I doing it at the wrong place? Okay, so I think I will copy this one or cut it out and I will do it right here. Okay, so that got rid of the error, but this will be a 200 and we'll say received this will be true like so. So we can save this. All right, before we test it out to see if it's working or not, let's go to our create checkouts that we created. And if you notice on sources rather, we should be redirected to this booking page or booking success page. So we need to create this page so that we don't get an error if it's successful. So I'll go to pages like so, and I'll create a folder called booking, and inside the folder I'll create success to Astro. Then inside this Astro file, what I would quickly do is I will import some things. So I will import the layout from layouts like so. I'll say layouts to Astro. And we also want to import button from Shartian. So say at components UI button. You also need to import a checkout or a check icon. So say check icon from Lucid React. And lastly, let me add a semicolon here. We also want to check if there is a user, so we want to authenticate a user. So we say const user, and since this is a server component, we no longer need this use store. We can just use await astro dot locals dot current user. So we can just pass in this method like so. But if yours is a client component, you should use the use store. I believe if you go to the Clark documentation, you should see the difference on when to access the user property from a client component and a server component. Now that we have this, so we can just create the layout like so. Then I can say the title should be booking successful. Then we'll create a div. I'm no longer getting complete anymore, so we'll create a div like so. Then I will say the class should be container, set a max of auto, px will be 4 and py will be 32. And I just believe we don't need this anymore. Let me just confirm again. So I believe we don't need that. Yeah, so we just leave it, these two out. Then inside this div, if I can spell this correctly, we need a class. Let me just close it out as well. We need a class, and this we have, rather this will hold the check icon. So we say mx should be auto, add an MB of 6, make it flex, items will be center, justify will be center, then we'll give it a size of 24 and set the rounded to full and give it a background of green 100. Then inside this we just pass the check icon like so, and for this check icon we just give it on the size of, let's just do 10. Then we just come here and pass the h1 like so, and this will be let's say booking confirmed. And for the class, this will be MB of 4, the text will be 3XL, then font will be bold. They also need to pass in a P tag as well, so just a description. So we can say thank you. And the cool thing now about this is that since we now have access to the user data, we can just pass in the user first name. So we can just say thank you user dot first name like so, and let's just wrap this inside a strong tag so that it will be obvious. So we say strong then here we can say for your reservation, your booking has been successfully processed and confirmed. All right, so we can save this one, and under this we still need to pass in the reservation ID as well, but we are going to grab the reservation ID from the URL as the user is trying to check out. So but what we're going to add here is the reservation ID like so, and put this inside the span tag, and inside this span tag we'll say the class should have a font of semi bold and we'll pass in an ID. Let me just do it at this place right here. So we say ID will be reservation ID. Then we'll leave it like so. So we are going to use the script tag from Astro, and we'll just access the span using the ID and just passing the reservation ID during the checkout. And ignore this, I don't know, there's no TypeScript error, and I don't want to restart my entire window again. So let's just leave this. It's going to go away. If it doesn't, then I will have to restart my window again. So underneath this one, create a new div again, like so. And inside this div, we'll give this a class of margin top of 10, flex, justify, maybe center, gap before, and inside this we'll bring in an a tag. So I'll quickly accept this one, and for this I will just pass in the bookings page. We've not created this one yet. We're going to do that in the next episode, but right here we can just say view my bookings. Then for this second one, we just want to go to the home page. We can just say return to home, and let's just make this one different. So for the variant, for this one, we'll set it to outline. All right, so let me see if everything is good. So we can save this one now, and this error is still popping. And before that, I just still want to make sure that everything is well centered in our screen. So what I will do is I will just grab everything like so and create a new div, and I will say class should have max width of large, and mx should be auto, so that will be centered on the screen. I'll make sure all the text is also centered. Then we can paste that back like so. And let me quickly add some styling to these ones that we created. So for this p tag, the class name will be mb of 8, then the text will be large. Then for this one, let's just give it here mb of 2. And to be very honest, I still don't know why. Okay, now I see why we're getting that error. I'm sorry if you guys were trying to correct me yet again. So it should get rid of that. So the issue was actually from me. So we can go back and test it out to see if it works. And we are going to know from, let me close these out. I think it's from this other one. Okay. So if it's worked, we should get 200 status code right here as well. So I can come here and pick a new date. So say, okay, let's allow this to refresh before we do that. All right, so let's pick a new date. So we say 29th to, let's do 31st. The rooms will be 2, adults will be 2, children will be 2 as well. So click on book now. All right, so we're getting all our details. Then I will say pay without link. So I'll quickly add my details and get back to you. All right, I've added some dummy data as you can see, and for the card information, just add 42424242 to it, then add any number right here. And of course, this should be 3 numbers, not 2. So click on pay, and this is processing. So it's successful. Let's check. All right, so guess this worked, and I didn't add the reservation ID, and this is what happens when you try to do everything from the top of your head. So this is the reservation ID we want to grab as soon as we get to this page, and as you can see, it's already popping up right here. So let's also check if we got an error. Okay, nothing showed here. Let's check our schema. So if we go to booking schema, okay, nothing came through. That means there's an error somewhere. I'm getting the 307 error. So I'm thinking it's from the redirect from Stripe. So before we start fixing that, let me just quickly add the functionality to get our reservation ID. After this div right here, we'll add the script like so. So this should be script tag. Then in order for us to extract the reservation ID, we just need to create a variable called URL params, and I will accept this one. So we just want to search, then we will grab the reservation ID from the URL params, just like it did here. I will just set the text content to the reservation ID. So I will accept this, but what I will just quickly do for us to be on the safer side is I will just do an if check. So we say if there's a reservation ID, then we want to say reservation ID element, and inside this we just want to, let me just cut this guy. So now we can also say if there's a reservation ID element, then we want to say, let me cut this guy and just let me just accept this and get rid of this guy. All right, so we can save now, and let's go back to our, so I'm going to create a new payment again. We'll go back to the home, but before we do that, let's come right here and make sure that we hit done. All right, so we are now listening for a webhook event, as you can see right here. So we can come here and let's go back to the Stripe webhook again and make sure this matches. So Stripe webhook.ts. So let's check what we have here. Stripe webhook.ts. All right, so I'm going to just log out some few things just to check if we're actually getting anything. So let me log out the signature like so. I'll also log out the session. So we say session completed, session. Then if this is completed, we don't need to check for this as well because this will automatically work. Okay, so let me save this and let's test it out again. So I'll go to luxury suits, then book now. So pick a date, so 29th to 30th, and just make this 2 and make this one 2 as well, then book now. So I'll quickly add my details again and I can quickly pay. So it's successful now. Let's check if we are getting the reservation ID first. Okay, we're still not getting the reservation ID. That means I'm doing something wrong. And if we can't get that, I think this is also not working as well. And this is still not working. All right, guys. So the reason why we're not getting anything was because I really don't know what happened. But when I stopped my command prompt or the CLI, I got this 400 requests and 200 requests, which actually means that the few times we actually made a booking, it went through, but for some reason it didn't show on our booking schema. So what I will do, I've already tested on a new one, but I'm going to test it again. And before I do that, we'll make sure that I add a status of confirmed. I didn't add that, so if you check the booking schema, you'll see it there. Then lastly, If we go to the success to Astro page, we need to change this to an underscore ID. And the reason why we are using an underscore is because if we go to the I believe it's a create checkout, you will see it right here. So this is what we want to get from our URL params. Now that we have all this in place, we can go back now and test it out again. So pick a new day, so 30th to 31st. Make these 2 rooms, 2 adults and 2 children. So if we hit the book now, so while we're waiting for this to load, if I bring down my command to now, you see that nothing is showing right now. So the last event was 9:17 a.m. and now we're at 9:21. So let's just allow this to load up. Alright, so I'll quickly add some data right here. Okay, let me just remove this one. Alright, so if I click on pay now, so it's processing and it's successful. So first of all, we should now get our reservation ID. So we're getting that right now. You can see it matches. Then if we go to our command prompt, you can see that we have where is it at? Checkout session completed and payment intent succeeded and payment intent created, payment intent rather, and the charge updated. So if we come back to our booking schema now, you can see the booking. So published 40 seconds ago, and we can see the reservation ID, the user that booked the room that was booked, the check-in date, checkout date, number of rooms, total price, booking status is now confirmed, payment status is paid, payment ID is there, and the created out is also there. So before I wrap up this episode, let me just go to our Stripe webbook and get rid of this stuff that we logged out. So I guess, is that the only one? And this one. Because if we check our own terminal, you should see everything. So the booking is created like so, and the other data that we got from our session like so. Alright guys, that's it for this episode, and sorry if I took you back and forth throughout this episode. And I feel this is how tutorial should be. It's not something that should be just straight up clean and well polished, because in the real world you are going to make lots and lots of mistakes. In the next episode, we are going to be creating the booking page where we can see all our booking, and hopefully if we can do that on time, we can also create the bookings details page for each booking that we paid for.